Everyone keeps wondering about the value of GCV and how, once it's officially confirmed, it will transform the lives of every pioneer holding Pi coins mined with their smartphones. Let me tell you the truth. It's no longer something far off. In fact, the time has already come. What if I told you that right now, someone could walk into a real estate office and buy a house worth $314,159 with just one Pi coin? And this isn't some fantasy or marketing gimmick. This is the reality unfolding in the Pi network ecosystem as we speak. The launch of Pi's open mainnet has prompted the most intriguing question in cryptocurrency history. Could a house really be sold for one Pi coin at its global consensus value of $314,159? Are you ready to witnessing the death of traditional real estate as we know it, where banks, mortgages, and decades of debt become completely obsolete because of one revolutionary cryptocurrency? Think the time where houses are being sold for one Pi coin worth $314,159. But here's the crazy part. Most people have no idea this parallel economy even exists, and they're missing the biggest wealth transfer in human history. Drop your thought in comment section if there is any. Let's first greet and give you a warm welcome to the channel where we dive deep into the revolutionary changes happening in the Pi network. If you're new here, you've just joined the most informed Pi community on YouTube. Before we explore this mind-blowing real estate phenomenon, I want to see our global Pi family in action. Just join our community by smashing subscribe button and turn on notification if you haven't already. Also, comment Pi network to the moon along with your country name to show the world how massive our community really is. I'm Nathan, and in the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal exactly how this house for one Pi scenario is not only possible, but already happening. You'll discover the precise economic conditions that make this work, the real breakdown of how sellers are spending their Pi within the ecosystem, why traditional market forces can't touch this internal economy, and the shocking examples of high-value Pi transactions that are redefining what we thought we knew about cryptocurrency utility. Stay with me until the end, because this information will completely transform your understanding of Pi network's true potential. Let's now get started. The answer to whether a house can sell for one Pi at $314,159 is absolutely yes, but only if certain economic conditions are met within the Pi ecosystem. Here's what makes this different from every other cryptocurrency you've ever heard of. Pi's global consensus value isn't a speculative price driven by market manipulation or whale trading. It's designed to support a completely parallel digital economy that operates independently from traditional financial markets. The global consensus value is built on three fundamental pillars: community belief, scarcity, and utility, rather than the market-driven speculation that destroys most cryptocurrencies. It proposes a revolutionary system where one Pi equals $314,159 based on collective consensus, not exchange listings that can be manipulated by big money players. This is where Pi network separates itself from Bitcoin, Ethereum, and every other crypto project that's at the mercy of external market forces. For real estate transactions, which are traditionally valued at hundreds of thousands of dollars, to occur at one Pi, the seller must value that Pi equally to fiat currency. But here's the crucial part that most people miss. The seller must confidently use Pi within the ecosystem to access high-value goods and services, rather than immediately cashing out to traditional banking systems. This creates a closed-loop economy that maintains value internally. Imagine two participants in this emerging economic system. The buyer has one Pi and believes it holds purchasing power at $314,159 within the Pi ecosystem. They're not looking to speculate or flip this Pi for quick profit. They genuinely need a house and trust the Pi network's internal economy. The seller accepts one Pi because they have concrete plans to spend it on valuable goods and services, such as vehicles, construction materials, professional services, or investments, all priced in Pi at global consensus value. This isn't theoretical anymore. Let me break down exactly how a seller might use their 1 Pi after selling their house. They could spend 0.2 Pi on a vehicle through a Pi-backed marketplace that's already operating. They might allocate 0.05 Pi on services paid via decentralized payroll apps that are processing real transactions. They could invest 0.3 Pi in new on-chain projects or tokens that are being built specifically for the Pi ecosystem. 0.1 Pi might go toward Web3 investments or fractional ownership platforms that are creating new asset classes. 0.25 Pi could purchase gold, land, or real estate tokens denominated in Pi, creating a diversified portfolio within the ecosystem. Finally, 0.1 Pi might be held as a long-term digital asset for future opportunities. Under this structure, each Pi spent contributes to what economists call a circular digital economy. The value remains inside the system because the seller uses their Pi to acquire necessities or investments within the Pi network rather than converting to fiat and bleeding value out of the ecosystem. This is the genius of the global consensus value model. It creates economic incentives for value to stay internal, which strengthens the entire network. A seller will only agree to these dollar-denominated transactions of 1 Pi if they believe they can convert it to equal value within the ecosystem. If they require fiat currency for their needs, they face 3 options: decline to accept Pi altogether, set a higher listing such as 2 Pi to offset perceived liquidity risk, or convert the Pi to fiat, which disrupts the global consensus value model by externalizing value and undermining future parity. This is why global consensus value only works effectively when value circulates internally, fueling merchant adoption, real-world utility, and decentralized finance tools. Every time someone breaks the chain by converting to fiat, they weaken the system for everyone else. But every time someone keeps their Pi internal, they strengthen the entire network. If more developers, agents, and landowners join Pi's ecosystem, the real estate possibilities expand exponentially. The future we're building could see fractional homeownership denominated in Pi, allowing people to own pieces of properties they could never afford traditionally. We're talking about land sales using Pi DeFi tools and smart contracts that eliminate the need for traditional title companies and banks. Construction financing could happen via Pi-based collateral or loans, cutting out the middlemen who extract massive fees from every transaction. We might even see Pi real estate tokens, or PRTs, for community investments into property, where entire neighborhoods could be funded and owned collectively by Pi holders. In this vision, real estate becomes part of an evolving utility-backed economy where Pi transcends cryptocurrency and functions as broad financial infrastructure that replaces traditional banking systems. Several conditions must be in place for this model to function at scale. Major infrastructure growth is essential, meaning real estate agents and developers must be on board and able to reinvest their Pi earnings within the network. Without this professional adoption, the system can't handle large-scale property transactions. Demand within the ecosystem must be robust, requiring a healthy marketplace for assets beyond property. People need places to spend their Pi on everything from groceries to luxury goods. KYC and market stability require compliance, anti-fraud measures, and internal money flows that are well established. We're dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars per transaction, so security cannot be an afterthought. Price transparency is crucial because exchanges should not influence global consensus value pricing. If speculative behavior on external platforms distorts internal valuations, the entire model collapses. Without these elements working together, a house for 1 Pi scenario remains theoretical. Demand from outside markets or liquidity needs could derail the global consensus value model before it reaches critical mass. The Pi core team and community pilots have found global consensus value-based transactions feasible in practice. Sellers are seeing Pi used for cars, real estate, and other high-value purchases, though alignment of expectations between buyers and sellers is crucial for success. These aren't isolated incidents or publicity stunts. They're real transactions happening within the Pi ecosystem right now. Critics worry that global consensus value only works under controlled conditions, out of sight from broader market forces. They point to cross-economy arbitrage, where Pi is valued lower on exchanges as a potential destabilizer of internal rates. This is a legitimate concern that the Pi network community is actively addressing through education and ecosystem development. Proponents argue it's about building trust before liquidity. By locking value into the system and delivering real services, global consensus value could mature into a long-standing internal standard while exchange listing is handled separately. This approach prioritizes utility over speculation, which is the opposite of how most cryptocurrencies operate. Gaming applications, including Fruity Pi, offer in-game purchases, rewards, and community-driven engagement that's never been possible before, while social platforms are supporting direct tipping, content monetization, and peer interactivity that's creating entirely new economic models for creators and consumers alike. These developments are powered by the revolutionary $100 million Pi Ventures Fund, specifically established to finance new applications that enhance scalability and adoption across the entire ecosystem. This massive investment demonstrates Pi Network's commitment to building sustainable utility rather than speculative trading, setting it apart from virtually every other cryptocurrency project in existence. The fund is actively financing developers who are creating applications that solve real-world problems, not just providing new ways to trade digital tokens. Pi's competitive advantages stem from its mobile-first mining approach that has democratized crypto participation by bypassing traditional hardware requirements completely. While Bitcoin mining requires expensive ASIC machines consuming enormous amounts of electricity, Pi mining happens on the smartphone you already carry in your pocket. The smartphone-based mining model has created the most accessible cryptocurrency community in history, while KYC verification provides a layer of credibility and ecosystem integrity that developers and merchants can trust. This verified user base of 19 million people fuels continuous development, usage, and network resilience that traditional cryptocurrencies simply cannot match. The inclusive vision centers on financial accessibility worldwide, addressing the reality that billions of people lack access to traditional banking services but do have smartphones. Pi Network recognizes that the future of finance isn't about replacing fiat currencies, but about providing financial services to the unbanked and underbanked populations that traditional institutions ignore. This approach has created a cryptocurrency that serves real people solving real problems rather than just enriching early investors. The core team's strategic initiatives are reshaping real-world adoption through what they're calling merchant takeover, integrating QR codes and point-of-sale systems that enable brick-and-mortar shops and online vendors to accept Pi payments for everyday purchases. This isn't theoretical anymore. Stores are already accepting Pi for real transactions, proving that cryptocurrency can function as actual currency rather than just speculative investment. Decentralized finance expansion will deploy lending, borrowing, and staking protocols, enabling users to engage in financial services without traditional intermediaries, while decentralized exchange liquidity pools enhance trade autonomy and trustless swapping capabilities. Smart contract functionality will catalyze an entirely new generation of innovative applications ranging from NFT marketplaces and governance tools to supply chain management systems, empowering developers globally to create novel applications that leverage Pi's unique ecosystem. The addition of smart contracts means Pi will support the same advanced functionality as Ethereum while maintaining its mobile-first accessibility advantage. Network optimization efforts ensure scalability and cost efficiency as usage rises exponentially, addressing the fundamental problems that plague other blockchain networks as they grow. Regulatory alignment through dialogue with government agencies provides legal clarity and sustainable growth frameworks that most cryptocurrency projects completely ignore until they face regulatory crackdowns. Pi Network is proactively working with regulators to ensure compliance, demonstrating the mature approach that separates legitimate blockchain projects from speculative schemes. Global expansion through localized applications, tailored educational initiatives, and regional support efforts will drive Pi's penetration into new geographic markets, bolstering long-term relevance and community engagement across diverse cultural and economic landscapes. Despite its remarkable momentum, Pi faces several obstacles that honest analysis must acknowledge. Exchange vulnerabilities have resulted in reports of withdrawal disruptions and technical hitches that illustrate liquidity and infrastructure challenges common to rapidly scaling platforms. Price volatility remains significant, though this reflects typical market behavior for emerging assets rather than fundamental problems with the network itself. Regulatory uncertainty persists despite KYC verification lending Pi legitimacy, as broader compliance frameworks in major financial hubs continue evolving. Technical scaling challenges will require proactive engineering to maintain transaction speed and affordability as volumes rise exponentially. With the Open Mainnet launched in February, Pi tokens are now technically transferable. Users can move Pi to external wallets and trade on exchanges like OKX and Gate, but real value, such as real estate transactions, hinges on the internal adoption of Pi as utility currency, not just as tradable tokens that fluctuate based on market sentiment. Major roadblocks remain that the community must overcome, ensuring developers create scalable DeFi solutions that can handle high-value transactions securely, convincing merchants to accept and spend PI rather than immediately converting to fiat, educating users on the global consensus value economic model so they understand how their actions affect the entire network, navigating regulatory uncertainties and AML/KYC compliance as governments figure out how to handle these new economic models. Selling a home for one Pi at $314,159 isn't fantasy. It's possible if both buyer and seller trust the internal utility ecosystem. Accepting Pi at global consensus value requires believing in its purchasing power within the network, and that belief must be justified by real use cases and tangible value creation. Pi Network's leap into real-world assets could mark a turning point, not just for cryptocurrency trading, but for entire economies built on decentralized finance and community consensus. Whether Pi coin stabilizes at global consensus value or floats to a new market equilibrium will depend on how fast internal tools, developers, and infrastructure mature to support these high-value transactions. In the end, the dream isn't about cashing out Pi for traditional currency. It's about building with Pi, transforming digital promise into tangible assets, and rethinking what ownership means in our connected world. We're not just creating another cryptocurrency. We're building a parallel economy that could fundamentally change how human beings exchange value. What do you think about this house for one Pi possibility? Are you ready to be part of this economic revolution? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to drop Pi Network to the moon with your country. If this opened your eyes to Pi's true potential, smash that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into Pi Network's revolutionary developments, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our latest insights. Remember, pioneers, we're not just holding coins, we're building the future of human economic interaction.